speculation, gossip, or hoax. Rumor has it.
A PlayStation 1 classic, the Twisted Metal franchise. This franchise has been long dormant for a long time. I remember a long time ago, shout out to my brother Raphael, when we were young kids and we had a PS1, we used to live in Riyadh, and one game that we were always so excited, so stoked to play right after we finished middle school was the Twisted Metal series. I think we had 1, 2, and 3. We just pop in the disc and we can play for hours. And one of the things I remember is we wouldn't even fight each other, you know? We would just actually try to find ways to break down the map and see some of the secret Easter eggs or secret areas that the developers left. It was always such a joy. I remember this one icy map where it kept slowly breaking down the more you would lay destruction on it. Really, really good times, and I don't think I've felt the same way I felt with Twisted Metal since the PlayStation 2 era with Twisted Metal Black. But this past week, reports were shared online that claimed Sony is preparing to resurrect its long-dormant Twisted Metal franchise. Now, to give you guys a little bit of an idea about what Twisted Metal is, Twisted Metal, it was this sort of like vehicular combat game franchise. It was a genre that peaked over a decade ago, but has seen some renewed interest. And I really want this to be the case, because it's always great when publishers or big game companies can shuffle back into their archive of library, just their archive of intellectual properties, and sort of rejuvenate them and modernize them for today's market. In a report from Video Game Chronicles, the new Twisted Metal game is said to be targeting a free-to-play release structure. In other words, players would be free to access the game and play the game, which would fund itself through optional microtransactions. As you know, this is sort of the norm of today's business model for some games, such as Fortnite, Apex Legends, Warzone, etc. It's easy to see how Twisted Metal's arcade gameplay and quick rounds would suit a free-to-play model. That's also something I can see as well. Something similar to Rocket League, as you know, Rocket League has converted itself to a free-to-play model as well. Now, the decision to build this free-to-play Twisted Metal game is in part due to the rumored developer of this new game. It is said that Lucid Games Studio, the developers of the recent Destruction All-Stars, will be working on this officially. Now, they haven't said anything about it, and this Destruction All-Stars isn't officially free-to-play. It's a PS5 exclusive. It was supposed to launch back in November, but it came out in February. And despite how good of a game it was, it did commercially flop. Not a lot of player base. It's sort of died out now. I don't hear too much about this game. But, I mean, maybe this was sort of with this rumor, I'm starting to think that maybe that was the pattern from Sony, that these developers would try to create their own original IP in the same spirit of Twisted Metal, make it arena-based, make it vehicular combat-based. But it seems like now that that's not working, let's pull out an established franchise such as the Twisted Metal. And it would honestly be great if they can tap into that. It is such a well-beloved franchise. I remember the person who worked on it, the creator of Twisted Metal, went on to create the God of War franchise back on the PlayStation 2. So you can tell that there's a really like a really cool legacy behind these games. And I know fans would love to see another Twisted Metal in some shape or form, something for the PlayStation 5, because it's been a while. I haven't touched my console because there's just not a lot of games that are really piquing my interest at the moment. But I want to ask you guys, text me 4215 and Slaughter Do you believe in this rumor? Do you think Twisted Metal deserves to come back? Do you think it has a place in today's multiplayer arena? Do you think, or do you feel like it's an outdated genre that peaked back in those old days and really doesn't have a spot in anybody's list? And also I want to ask you, what is a dormant franchise, a game series of some kind that came out really long time ago and you would do anything for it to just come back. Maybe a remake, a remaster of some kind, or a completely new sequel in the series itself. I want to hear from you guys. Join in the conversation. Text me 4215. It's Slaughterdo. Would always love to hear from you guys. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit. Luckily enough, terms of the settlement weren't disclosed, but the settlement itself has been finalized. The lawsuit has been settled, and I got all the details for it. So be sure to stay locked and stay tuned right here for so much more, only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.